I'm Kat Udane of Foxhole Films.
And I'm Michaela McIntosh of Siren of the Pacific Productions.
We're your hosts of the GateCrashers podcast.
Coming to you now. The GateCrashers theme is by Derek Graham Sound.
Let it play out. In this episode of GateCrashers, we sit down with Bonnie Gross, the writer, producer, and unapologetic creative force behind Lady Parts, a fearless dramedy that turns pelvic pain and medical gaslighting into sharp, hilarious, and deeply human storytelling. We talk about how she took her own diagnosis and spun it into a feature that's rewriting the rules for women's health narratives, and why she's now taking Lady Parts on the road to spark a larger conversation. Bring your courage, your humor, and your wildest DIY dreams. This one's for every gatecrasher who's ever been told to sit pretty and stay quiet.
Angels, like we have.
I know.
Hair for this.
I literally just didn't cut my hair yesterday and cut off all the dyed parts. So
Yes,
this is new. This is very new. And
refreshed.
Yeah,
Love
we're
that.
Charlie's Angels right now.
We are. We're
Perfect.
giving it. I was like, I'm going to wear a Halloween. And then I was going to wear my Halloween earrings. But I realized, with the, it's horror movie addict. But I realized with the headphones, it was going to hurt.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So they're here in spirit. But speaking of Halloween, I think this is just the perfect segue of when I met you on the red carpet at Dances with Films, or saw you, I should say. We hadn't officially met yet. You were a giant vulva. And I was like, I don't know what this is or what's happening, but I
Can
have
we
to know.
insert a picture somewhere? Insert a
I
picture
can give
somewhere on
you the
screen.
red carpet photos from Dances with Films that they took of us.
It was, I was like, I have to figure out who. And then I was so happy to run into you into the filmmaker lounge. But everyone, this is Bonnie. We're so excited to talk to you about Lady Parts and your journey and all the things. But I have to start with why the vulva costume? Was it your idea? Was it someone else's idea? But you made a statement and everyone knew.
I think actually the vulva costume kind of came about at Austin Film Festival. That was the first appearance of what do we call her? Vagina, I think at one point. There were so many names. And basically, you're at Austin Film Festival over Halloween. So this is actually a perfect segue on Halloween. There was a Halloween party, and I was like, what is the best costume I could make? And I was like, what if I'm Dentana, from Teeth?
Yes.
And I'm like, not only is it Lady Parts themed, Halloween themed, and film themed. I was like, we've hit every major thing. Originally, if you look up pictures, the vulva costume with teeth in it, and I was going around the Texas Capitol at the time, which no one tried to harass me. And then from there, it just kind of became like, wait, why haven't I been wearing this entire time? This is great.
It's brilliant because in a festival situation where you're desperately trying to make sure that people come to your film block instead of maybe the mixer they were thinking of, it's brilliant. It's so good.
Yeah. I think a lot of what happened at the festivals, we kind of went insane with the marketing. And you have to picture at the time I had dyed my entire hair magenta hot pink.
Yep.
Every outfit I wore and the whole Lady Parts team wore was pink vulva.
Yeah.
matching
Brand.
shirts. You knew when they were the Lady Parts team is here. You could tell.
Or you even knew outside. I was like, oh, Nancy, you are the Lady Parts team. I can just tell by your dress.
Yeah, I could tell by everything that's going on here. You are part of the Lady Parts team. And I think the vulva costume was just kind of the magnus opum of it.
Yeah. The culmination of how
it just escalated. I feel like every festival we started to learn more and more and more. And it was just okay, now we're gonna dye the hair. Now we're wearing t-shirts. Now we have a vulva costume. Now we have the glitter. And it's just escalated.
I love that. And that's, honestly, and I didn't plan to start with festivals, but I guess it's hard not to with the costume. But you had such a long, amazing run of festivals. For those that don't know, you did Austin Film Festival, you did Sidewalk, which I also love, and you won one of the jury prizes or the feature prizes for Sidewalk, I think.
Yeah. Do you want, I can run through the festival.
Oh, yes, give us the list.
Run through it. Yeah.
So we premiered at Florida Film Festival in April of 2024, where we won the Audience Choice Best Narrative Feature and the Special Jury Award for Screenwriting. So we were super jazzed because that was our first one. Next, we went to Sidewalk Film Festival, where we won the Audience Choice Best Narrative Feature there as well. Then we were at Austin Film Festival where we actually won the jury award for Best Comedy Vanguard Feature, which was
I'm honestly
huge.
sad you weren't in Alabama with a vulva costume now. I think you need
I
to go back to Sidewalk.
We need Sidewalk if you're listening. I know, and ironically, I used to live in Birmingham, so, like, it would have been
No
such a
way.
perfect I was like, "Yeah, I have some friends that would have, like, followed me around. This would have been great." But I'm like, "Where did we go next?" There were so many places. Then we were in St. Louis International Film Festival, where we again won Audience Choice Best Narrative Feature. Then we were at
Amazing.
Dolores Film Festival, and then we were at Big Apple Film Festival. We were at La Femme Film Festival. I'm, like, trying to think. Then we go into the new year, and then we were at Socially Relevant Film Festival, Cinetopia Film Festival, where we again won Audience Choice Best Narrative Feature.
Yes.
Woo.
Yeah.
I know. We were at Stranger Than Fiction Film Festival, which was actually in Jackson, Mississippi, where we had 100 people show up in freaking Jackson, Mississippi, which is incredible to me. And
Amazing.
I'm trying to think, like, I was like, there were so many, like, pieces to the journey.
Well, while you think of that, I just want to say, too, I love that you brought up Mississippi because I have a lot of friends who were like, "Oh, I'm not going to the red states with my film because I don't want to support them and blah, blah, blah." And I'm like, actually, some of the people that like can't leave those states and need your film the most, like art is how we inspire like change and thought and dialogue and
Yes.
discussion. And so I'm really
Yeah.
glad you brought that up.
Yeah, I'm always happy to talk about that because, I mean, I'm born and raised in, like, the suburbs of Philly. Obviously, that's where the movie takes place, but I
Mhm.
went to college at University of Alabama, Roll Tide. And, I also lived in Birmingham for a while.
My roommate would be like, "What?"
What? Yeah, I know. You know, I lived in Birmingham. I have a lot of friends because of college and living there that are from the South,
Mhm.
live in the South, and I think a lot of people have a really bad connotation the minute you say the South, and it's not like that. There's some of the most diverse places in the country are in the South. And just because someone's living there doesn't mean that they don't want this content too or don't need this content. And,
Yeah.
you know, what we found is, you know, a lot of people are like, "Oh my God, you're playing like this movie," and, you know, name whatever state, which ironically we played mainly in the South. That was most of our festival
So
journey.
interesting. Yeah.
It is
yeah.
interesting.
And if anything, we have never been so welcomed, gotten such an amazing response. I remember at Jackson, Mississippi in particular, we had a pelvic floor PT on our panel, an abortion rights attorney on our panel. We had a women's health, OBGYN, and all Mississippi, all local. And I remember a woman came up to me after the panel and the screening, and she was like, "See, for the longest time, I thought, I was just in pain. I've had 3 kids. I thought everything was fine." She's like, "I just made an appointment with that pelvic floor PT right there." And I was like, "Yes." And so I was like,
Aw.
that's why this is
Oh my
needed. It
gosh.
doesn't matter where you live. You could still have vulvovaginal pelvic pain or like a stigma.
And the immediate impact you got to see of your film and that panel, how gratifying.
Yeah. It's happened almost every single screening we've done. There's either somebody that comes up and is like, "I'm finally going to call my doctor," or like, "Wow, like you made me feel so seen," or, even if they don't have like vulvovaginal pain specifically, it's like, "Oh, well, I went through this crazy similar experience," or medical gaslighting, or,
Yeah.
you name it.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah. It especially as I feel like a female,
Yes.
and especially when you're talking to, no offense, but some male doctors, there can be a lot of like, I've experienced it in the ortho world of like, "Oh, you're just being over dramatic," or it's like, "I don't think you need that test," or "Oh, this and that." And it's, well, so I met you at Dances with Films. And at that point when we were in which was the end of your journey, right? Like you guys didn't do any other film festivals after
We
Dances with
did.
Films, or did you?
That was supposed to be our last one, and then we ended up last minute. We were the opening night film for the Women's Film Festival here in Philly. So
Yeah.
thank you. I know, and it was big because we hadn't played in Philly yet, and obviously it's where I'm from. So it was like the first
Yeah.
time a lot of like friends, family could come see it. So
Oh, how
that's where we
special.
decided, okay, now we need to. I'm out of money, time, and energy. So now we need to put that into distribution.
It's so real.
Yes, you're right. Like when I met you, I seriously thought I was like, this is the last one.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and we were talking about like you guys have won all these awards, you've played all these festivals, but you didn't have anything for distribution after going
Yes.
through all of this. Was that still true like after Philly too?
Yes. So we've had a couple of people reach out and, offer us the run of the mill distribution kind of deal. But all of them seemed pretty awful, to be honest. And, I don't know if you've talked with a bunch of distributors recently and seen how the industry is going, but it seems like we're going in a very different direction, and they're going to give us no MGs. They're going to, not market our film. They're going to throw it on a shelf. And, you hope you're the one in a million that takes off from their, repertoire of films. And so we kind of decided, let's do a roadshow in 2026. The Vagina roadshow.
I love this so much.
And so,
I love this so much.
we were like, in the spirit of the festivals, I feel like we learned so much from those and how to get, we sold out almost every screening we had. We got all these
Wow.
Audience Choice Awards. We know that there's this market and this need for it. And now it's like, how do we now go outside of the festivals and bring it to local art house theaters, communities, and places? And then, after we're done our roadshow, then how do we get it somewhere streaming that's accessible to everyone? If this is just on one kind of platform that not everybody has, that's not the point of this film. The point was so everybody can learn from it, watch from it. And it's ever changing. Like, who knows, in a year there's going to be some new platform or something, and
Yeah.
they all merge and become the same company. Who knows these days?
I know. Jeez, we can't keep up anymore. We're like,
We can't.
okay, Disney Plus and Hulu, and then and other countries. Like,
Yeah.
I'll like tell my Canadian friends, I'll be like, yeah, I watched it on HBO, and they're like, yeah, so we don't really like use that here. It's called Crave, or like it's not even on that, or it's like Hulu is Disney Plus, or like,
Yeah.
so by territory it can be different too, and
Yeah,
languages.
it's like so
and
limiting. I
Yeah.
agree. And like, I never want it to feel like something that's like, only certain people can watch this. Like, that's never the point of the film. And like
yeah,
you said, even bringing it to the South and stuff, like, we've seen that everybody has a need to learn about it. So why gatekeep it?
Yeah.
why
Yeah, we
crash
made a
it?
film.
Sorry.
Yeah, why not? And like, also, it's like you spend all this time, energy, money, like passion making this film, and then for it to just be sold to somebody who then controls the rights for like 7 to 12 years, and then you're gonna see no money. You have no
Yeah.
say in anything, and they're telling you you're just lucky that someone got it. And
Yeah, and you're like, tell my investors that. Thanks.
thanks. Yeah, thank you so much. And by investors, I mean me. I literally spent my entire life savings and credit line on this film.
Yeah.
I was like,
yeah.
thank you
And that's
very
hard
much.
too. Like both are so you investing into it and putting everything into this thing. And or you answering to someone who's like, yes, you're not gonna get your money back because apparently distributors suck now. And like
Yeah, exactly. And how do you even play that? Like, either scenario is terrible.
yeah.
There's really like
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping with the roadshow we can kind of pick up some steam, get some interest, grassroots, really like
Yeah.
grassroots it,
Yeah.
which is what we did with the festivals too, and plugging
Yeah.
into the local communities. And it's what like filmmaking was, not to be like all hippy dippy about it, but I was like, filmmaking was all about like telling stories, making change. And so I was like, I don't see why we can't do the same thing here with
Yeah.
a narrative feature.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I want to come back to the roadshow and also just say, like, I thought it was interesting at Dances with Films. There was a moment where everyone around our little table in the film lounge was like all female health related films.
Yes.
And then they ended up being like, hey, let's do a panel last minute with I think it was 4 films, right? 4 or 5 films.
Yeah.
We're
Like,
talking
yeah,
about
4 or 5.
everything from
fantastic.
like IVF and infertility to what was it? There was a couple other ones.
Abortion
Sorry.
access rights. There was hypnotic birthing. It was
Yeah.
insane. Yeah, it was really cool to see
Amazing.
the spectrum of, different film topics.
And I think this too is coming at an interesting time when like the article that just came out 2 or 3 days ago from the Ankler was about how like since the Me Too movement, we've done nothing for films for female audiences / female directors. And I know you are more on the writing side and the creating side, and Nancy was the director of this. But I'd love to, before we come back to the roadshow, kind of go all the way back to inception. Give us the log line.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, I don't mind talking about it at all. So, Lady Parts is based on my own true story of moving back home with my parents to get vulvovaginal surgery. It is a comedy. You can laugh, which I think is very important to say. But at the really
Cue
like
laughter.
Yeah, cue laughter. At the heart of the story, what's really important is her relationship with her parents, her relationship with herself and her body and her confidence. And it really is a coming of age story, just kind of disguised with all these other things. And I think what's really cool is a lot of people are like, oh no, vagina, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, no, no, no. This is just a character going through a normal life journey that just happens to have this other thing going on. And you can kind of learn about it and care about it without it being like shoved down your throat. Like, I'm not going to like be like, here's statistics and why you should care. It's like, no, no, no. You can just watch a story of someone
Well,
that
and
might
you feel
be
that in the trailer. Yeah, like I just
For
love the
sure.
dad. He's
dad.
like, I
Who
spent all
doesn't
this
love
money
the
on
dad?
tampons.
I think a lot had to be changed because, I'm 31 now. I've lived a whole life, and this movie's 100 minutes. So a lot of it's condensed. A lot of the timelines are a little adjusted. I do actually have a
Yeah.
sister life fact. I'm not an only child. That was changed for the film. But a lot of it is really true to what happened. There's a scene where I'm on a sitz bath and my mom's shaving my legs. That happened. There's a scene where my dad comes in with a belt to like hold my thighs together to like try to get my muscles working. That did happen. So I think a lot of
Wow.
people think, oh no, like it's really exaggerated or something. I'm like, no, obviously characters and stuff had to switch and timelines, but no, those things really happened. And that's kind of what this surgery and this condition can look like, depending on the person, obviously. But I think when the inception happened, I got the actual surgery. I guess I can go into a little bit about what it is, if that's helpful.
Please, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
what it is, and when you finally went, I want to put this on screen.
Okay, great. I was like, I don't know how much detail you want me to go in, but I can. So basically, as long as I can remember, I have always had just pain in the opening of my vagina. The first time I really remember it is putting a tampon in at 13, because that's the first time you're really down there in that area. And I just
Yeah.
remember it couldn't go in. It was really painful to put in. And I would just kind of grin and bear it because, I wanted to go swimming or I wanted to hang out with friends or wear a dress with name it. And everything was just painful. And as I got older, the pain started to not just be like tampons, it was everything like tight pants, riding a bike, wearing underwear. And when I went in for my first speculum exam at 18, I remember, doing the pap smear because my mom is a cervical cancer survivor. And they found out she had cervical cancer from a routine pap smear and no symptoms, no nothing, and it saved her life. And so every year, starting at 18, it's like, you're going to get your pap smear to make sure, it's so important. And so I was like, yeah, absolutely. And I went in, I remember when she put the speculum in, it felt like someone was digging a hot knife into me.
Ooh.
And I remember at the time I was like, kind of squirming and I was like, oh, that really hurts. And the doctor kind of held me down and said, stop squirming. And still did the test. And
Whoa.
from there on, it had always been this like, it's a very stigmatized thing. Like, no one wants to talk about it. But, and I wish I could say my story's so unique, but I have heard so many stories from other people, whether it's this issue or another issue that are just like constantly dismissed, their pain not taken seriously. And basically, I'm treated as a birth vessel in the OBGYN office. And a lot of times, I didn't even realize this till recently when you go in for your well visit, your women's well visit or annual, you go in, they shove a speculum in, they take their little test, and that's it. They don't even look at the vulva. They go right past it like a flyover state. It's like not even there. And if someone had just taken like maybe 5 minutes to take a look and see what was going on, maybe that could have saved me years. And so
Wow.
fast forward, I start becoming sexually active. Still not, obviously things have not gotten better. And again, like we don't know about any of this. I started going to doctors at the time at the student health center. One doctor told me, why don't you try drinking wine for painful sex? Just have a glass of wine before. And I was like, I'm 19, which you should know from my chart. And he's like, well, it's a college
Yeah, let me move to Canada.
Yeah, he's like, it's a college campus. Like, I'm sure somebody can like, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, first of all, that's not alcoholism isn't medical advice. And
Oh my God.
and again, like I wish I could be like, that's my experience only. Like no one, and I'm like, no, this is happening everywhere. Male doctors, female doctors, every state. I traveled to 4 different states trying to seek care for this. Like once I kind of got on that journey, I was like, now I really want to figure out what's wrong with me. And so I was traveling. I couldn't get answers. I got the runaround. Someone tried to put me on Xanax at one point. They tried to tell me it was an STI. They gave me every excuse in the book. Meanwhile, I'm literally having problems just sitting without pain. And so eventually I'm interning in New York. I find a specialist there who of course doesn't take insurance and private, but he had a cancellation. I was interning there and I was like, you know what? I'm going. I'm just so done. And luckily, he was within 5 minutes able to diagnose me. Didn't even have to put a speculum in, and finally got me on a game plan. And so in the film, you kind of notice they jump right to the surgery. In real life, we tried a bunch of other things first, but movie magic. And
Mhm.
but I got diagnosed with, God, this is a mouthful. It's called neuroprolific vestibulodynia.
Wow.
Vestibulodynia in general just means you have pain at the vulvar vestibule, which is that little skin right at the entrance. So mine in particular, I had too many nerve endings there that grew due to constant inflammation,
Huh.
meaning that when something would touch it, it would hit those nerve endings and thus feel like
Hurt.
a knife digging into me. I got what's called a vestibulectomy, where they remove the affected tissue at the vulvar vestibule. And then you do this really insane recovery for 6 weeks where you can't move your legs. They're kind of stuck together. You can't, because you'll break the stitches that are all up in your vulva. And that's why you see I don't know if you know sitz bath or sitting like that to clean the stitches. You can't walk, you can't do anything. I can't even sit like I am now because that's pressure on the stitches. You're flat on your back or just standing up straight to eat and back. And so really
How
my
did
parents
you
had
go
to.
to the bathroom? Can you answer that?
Yeah. No, they talk about that actually. That's a line in the
Oh,
film.
okay,
She's like,
okay,
"How do I
okay,
pee?"
okay.
No, it's crazy. So basically, you do this waddle. So you move your legs so slowly that you're not breaking, the thigh part to break the stitches. And then you sit down on the toilet, pee, and then you then do a sitz bath, which is this little tub you put over your toilet that you fill with hot water and stuff, and then you
Mm.
soak it. A lot of people actually use it after giving birth. I think that's where
Okay,
most
that makes
people
sense.
have seen it
Yeah.
before for stitches and stuff down there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But yeah, you sit in there, you let it you clean it off, and then you pat it dry. I think we said it's like cleaning your face.
Mhm.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so it's a lot. You need full-time care. So again, I had to move back with my parents. They had to take care of
Wow.
me full
Yeah.
time and we had to get very close very quickly.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, that would do it.
that did it for me. And so after that, at that time I didn't really tell any of my friends or family or, anyone what I was going through. Some people knew I was getting surgery, but they didn't know what for. No one really knew what was going on. And I kind of
Yeah.
wrote this blog post in 2016, right after I had my post-op, where then I was doing what's called dilators, which are they almost look like dildos, but they're not. They're little instruments that you use to insert and stretch the muscles and stuff.
Mm,
So, after surgery, it's PT, pelvic floor
Yeah.
PT. Like
yeah,
that.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And so I decided to write a blog post where I don't even think I called out vestibulectomy or, vulvodynia or any of that. I just was kind of explaining I went through this. I called it the female problem at the time, which now I'm oh my God. But I got so much amazing response from it. People were reaching out I haven't heard from in years. People were like, wow, I really relate to this. This was really cool that you're saying this, or I know someone, or and so then I bought a one-way ticket to Los Angeles with no job and no place to live and slept
Wha
on an airplane for 3 years, which is also part of the movie. And then I went back to school at UCLA at night, and that's where I started writing
Yeah.
Lady Parts. And it was originally a television pilot, and I wrote it in
Yeah.
Mm.
a
Mhm.
workshop. It was 10 people, and I remember I pitched it, and I was really nervous, and I was I don't know if this is gonna go over well. And then I was walking to my car in the parking garage, and one of the girls in my class pulled me aside and was like, "Thank you for pitching this. I have something similar going on." And I was like, "Okay, I have to do it. I have to do it."
Mm,
And basically, from there, I wrote it, went through a bunch of drafts, and then it won some awards. It won writing awards and got all these accolades.
Amazing.
And you think, "Oh my God, this is it. Finally, it's all gonna
yeah,
happen."
yeah. This is
No,
it.
this is it.
Yeah.
And then no, I tried to pitch it. I tried to do the traditional route and nothing.
Was it
Then
still a TV pilot at this point?
Yes,
Yeah.
still a
Okay.
TV
Okay.
pilot at this point.
Mhm.
Always had been called Lady Parts, always dealing with this, but the pilot was more about her experience in college and like the beginning stages of figuring out what's wrong with her.
Gotcha.
So it was a very different, well, obviously it was written for like TV and to be like a series. And
Mhm.
the parents were always in it, but they weren't as big of a part of it as they were in the film. And ironically, pandemic hits, I'm furloughed, and suddenly I'm like, I should pick this script back up and look at like notes I've got. And I got feedback from Austin Film Festival, I remember, because it didn't even get in. It didn't even like place or anything there. And
Hilarious.
I know, hilarious. And their feedback was, this would be so much better as an indie feature film. And, you know, you should really focus more on the relationship with the parents. And I took that to heart. And obviously there was a lot more in there. It didn't just say those two things. But
Yeah.
so I started rewriting it. Then I kind of hit this point where I was like, fuck it. Like, I could either wait around for somebody to be like, yeah, let's give this a go and fund it and blah, blah, blah. Or I could like greenlight myself and just say, screw it. I want to make this and I want to do it. And I know how
Mhm.
important it's going to be. So we did some Zoom table reads. 2021 is when we started bringing on people. So that's how I met Nancy, actually.
Yeah.
We met because at the time, I was working at Light Iron in New York, and one of my coworkers had just met, and I was like, yeah, I have this script I'm doing, and it's about this. And she goes, no way. She's like, my best friend from childhood is at USC, master's directing, and she has a broken vagina. You guys should talk. And I was like, oh my God, you're so right. We should.
I
That's
love
what we
that
got
being
after.
the criteria on the casting, like all the interviews. And how's your vagina?
Yeah. Do
Yeah.
you have a broken vagina? How are you doing? So I felt very comfortable because, you know, knowing that I wasn't going to be able to direct it, I was like, I want to make sure it's going to be directed by someone that's going to be able to give it that really authentic, raw, you know, female gaze with someone that
Absolutely.
understands even though it's not the same condition, understands what these conditions can feel like. And I think it really shows when you watch it, which is amazing. And so I think, you know, I was on set every day with everyone. We were all on set. It was like super collaborative. We had mainly majority female DP, female director, female editor,
Love
female
that.
writer, female director. Yeah, I was like all across the board. And so it was just such an amazing set because I feel like, you know, crazy women can, you know, make amazing movies. Wild.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I feel like it was super collaborative. Everybody kind of just brought such amazing energy and really cool things to the project. And I think that's why it feels the way it does. And yeah,
Did you have a casting director or did you? No. Well, so
No.
can you talk a little bit about the process of finding your cast?
Yeah, absolutely. So basically, Valentina, who is a star, if you've seen the movie, she plays the main character and is incredible. This was her first feature film, and
Oh
I'm
my gosh.
stunned every time someone says that. I'm like, there's no way. She does incredible. And Nancy and Val had worked together on a couple short films. So that's how we got the connection to Valentina and had her, you know, come and try out. And then with everybody else, we actually used like, what's it called? It's not Backstage, it's the other one.
Actors Access.
Yeah, we used
Yeah.
Axer.
Amazing.
Yeah, we
I was
used
going to ask how you got Amy Linden because that's pretty cool.
Yeah, Amy
well
Linden. I
known,
know.
yeah.
We love Amy. We love Amy. She actually was on Actors Access and sent us, you know, a tryout tape. And obviously she killed it out of the park. And we had her, you know, come in and do some
Wow.
line reading. And we're like, she's hilarious. Like, we're like,
yeah.
wow. Like, knocked it out of the park. Same with Peter, who was the dad. Everyone was found, you know, either connections that people have worked with or on Actors Access. And yeah, and I think it's really cool, you know, to see. I don't know, a lot of films right now are having, you know, like, we have this star, you know, it's the same people in every film. And so it was really
Yeah.
cool, like, especially with like the context of this film and this character. It was really amazing to see a new face and a new kind of perspective on it. But yeah, they killed it.
Yeah.
They knocked it out of the park.
And then you've talked about being on set. How was post for you? The film that you ended, because you edited, yes or no? Yes.
No, our editor.
You didn't edit.
No. So our editor wasn't at Dances, but her name is Edith, and she's incredible.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for an editor out there. And
okay.
Yeah, if you're looking for an amazing female editor. But no, I did not edit it. I was on set. Obviously, it was like part of the whole process, but no, I did not actually physically sit down and edit it.
Yeah. Wow. How much did it do you feel like it really still followed the journey of the script, or how much did you feel like you had to change in post because you're like, maybe this moment works better this way, or you make a movie
Yeah.
3 times, they say. So
Yeah, exactly. And I was like, I feel like it's like constantly evolving. Like every day you're like, and this, and this. Like actually midway through filming, we changed the last scene of the whole movie. Like that was completely rewritten and changed. And then we ended up doing a pickup day in New York to get it. So there was a lot of stuff that was, what's it like, kill your darlings, I think is like
Yeah.
the term. There were so many times, and I personally don't like being like, so like, no, I love it. I'm like, doesn't work, get rid of it. You know,
Yeah.
'cause
yeah.
yeah, I'm like, if everybody's telling me like this isn't working, there's a reason. And also because I was like the
Yeah.
producer on set, so I'm also like, no, I'm thinking logistically too, like this might not work or this might be a little bit much. How do we like creatively still keep the essence of like the message we're trying to keep across, but there's other ways to do it, you
Yeah.
know, show, don't tell, you know, whatever you want to say. But there was definitely, you know, the script that was written. Obviously, once we got to set, especially we had such amazing actors who were able to improv and come off the cuff and kind of add their own likeness to it, which obviously changes the script, but in like the best way possible, you know. The scene with the dad and the daughter, they're reading The Velveteen Rabbit in the waiting room, and the scene was always supposed to be, you know, the dad is reading a little excerpt and then says, you know, a little about his past and losing his job and, you know, how, you know, he struggled to become real and relates it to the Velveteen Rabbit. So that was always the essence of the scene. And then Peter, who played the dad, came up to me and Nancy like 5 minutes before we're about to film it and is like, hey, are you okay if I want to try something on this? And we're like, sure.
Yes.
I love that. I'm like, yeah, go for it. I want to see. So no one had any idea what he was going to say or do. Like not even like no one. And so we start filming. He gives this amazing, I don't, you know, if you watch it, he gives this really incredible story about, you know, using this hairspray and finding her like with the recorder and like, and all of us are just like crying on set. We're like, oh my God, like that was beautiful. like, so I think that's like, you know, the best part is like, if you can have a script where like people can just go off and kind of bring their own parts to it. Like collaboration's what filmmaking was about. So like that's the beauty of it, is seeing what everybody can kind of bring to it. And then obviously when we get to post, it even narrows down more because it's like, well, actually we don't need the scene at all.
Yeah.
Or what if we kind of, you know, and one of the biggest things that changed with post-production is there's what's called a nightmare sequence. We like to joke where it's like a bunch of medical gaslighting and like you see a bunch of doctors and stuff when she kind of goes under. And that was originally supposed to be somewhere else in the script, and we moved it, and I think it like works so much better.
Yeah.
And so it's just stuff like that that you might not have even thought about. And then when you see it, you're like, oh my God, like, wow, I'm so glad I brought in this other collaborator who was able to kind of see it from a different perspective. There's a reason I'm not an editor, you know? There's a reason I can do certain things. I'm not a DP.
I feel like when in writing and in filming, I feel personally like there comes a point when the story kind of tells you what it wants to be, when it's like it gets enough people and influence into it that it goes from what you have and then it grows into this thing that could only be that because everyone else is feeding into it, and it just it'll tell you what it wants.
Exactly. Like, I feel like once we started getting on set, shooting, everybody's starting to work together, that's when it really, like, starts to evolve, because then you just get to see, like, everyone's playing off each other. Everyone's kind of collaborating. You know, someone on set might be like, what if we did this? What if we did this? What if that? You know, and so, yeah, and then, you know, sometimes you don't know till you're there, and it's like the happy little accidents. Like, oh, no, we weren't expecting this to happen, but now it's incredible. I'm so happy we did this, or we changed this, or we couldn't get this location, so now this whole scene's different because we had a wild, you know, set. But yeah, I think for me, like, the hardest part about being, like, on set every day, well, I was also working full-time, so I had my full-time New York post-supervising job, working remotely.
When did you film? What year did you film?
Yeah, sorry, we were in the summer of 2022 in Los Angeles.
Okay.
Wow.
So I was working full-time, New York remote hours, while also being the on-set producer. We shot in 22 days.
Did you sleep?
Oh, no, I'm not okay. I did not sleep. I was in a family friend's she shed in the backyard, which had like a twin bed, an air conditioning unit, and a little desk. And then I also I rented a U-Haul truck to drive the gear in every day. So I was also the transpo captain. And every day.
Indie filmmaking,
The most indie. Yes. Yeah. I was like, you need someone to parallel park a truck, call me up in Los Angeles.
And never got a ticket, right?
No, not one ticket. Production budget saved. Yes.
Wow.
I was
that
also
is
the
a
prop
feat.
master. I'm helping order craft. I'm
Yes,
making
yeah,
props
yeah,
and, whatever
yeah,
needs to be done, I'm doing.
yeah, all hands on deck.
All hands on deck. Yeah. I was like, whatever, and then I have a little cameo in it. And
Yeah, yay.
yeah, fun fact, the beginning, the little children's feet are actually my feet. 2 cameos.
Do we go like, what size feet are you and have you made an only feets yet?
If someone wants to pay me, I would love to make OnlyFeeds to fund my next feature. If somebody knows how to do that, I would love to do that. We
This
actually
might be a post-production idea.
Yeah, I was like, maybe after the fact. I remember, like, I put on, like, this electric blue nail polish and chipped it and then, like, put a little ankle bracelet thing on, and I had a Band-Aid already because I cut myself shaving the night before, so I think it kinda worked.
So
And
much.
Every time.
and then our amazing colorist, Katie Jordan, was able to, like, de-age my foot. I know,
Amazing.
wild. And now I'm like, "Am I gonna have some weird foot complex after
I
Wait,
didn't know
what
that
size
feet
feet are
age.
you? What size
I'm a
feet are you?
7.
Okay, because I'm like, my feet could never pass for those of a child.
No,
I have
and I mean, like,
I wear children's shoes. I'm like, do
I'm
feet
calling you out.
wrinkle? Like, do they need Botox?
Right?
Yeah,
I'm like, am
wait,
I now gonna be like, "Oh,
de-age your
no, my
foot.
feet." Like, who knew? Yeah, and
Truly.
yeah, who knew? But I'm calling you up, I guess, next time if I need some feet. Like, I'm like, "You
Yeah,
got baby
Michaela's
feet,
got
come on,
you.
be all set."
Well, so how I met my in-laws was the first night I flew to Vancouver. I woke up the next morning and I went downstairs because he was doing cruise ship, so he still had a room with his aunt and uncle. I went downstairs and they had put my shoes inside of his shoes because my feet are so small.
Oh my god. Can I
And
ask
they thought it was hilarious. I'm a 5.5 in women's, which typically does qualify for children's footwear. So my
oh
soccer
my
cleats were
god,
really cheap
you're
for
saving
my
money.
husband. I did. When I can buy children's shoes, I just do because they're like half the price. They're so much cheaper.
Oh my gosh. I wish. I would if I could.
Honestly, that sounds wonderful.
Well, we could talk about feet all day.
I know, I was like, "Let's dive into feet."
What was the process for deciding? Did you always know you were going to do film festivals? Did
Mm.
it come as you were going? Like,
Yeah.
what did that look like for you?
God. It was kind of we knew we always wanted to go with like a film festival with it, just because we're like, oh, this is gonna be such a good like indie darling film.
Mm.
And I had never done the film festival circuit before. This is my first time really like doing all of that, so I kind of had no idea like how hard, how crazy, how much it can be. I'm
Mm.
thinking we showed a film festival. What? How hard can it be? And then turns out very hard, especially getting. I was like, I get it. Of course, kind of getting into that initial festival, I think was the hardest, just because they don't really tell you how political it can be, how yeah, just to get in. I mean, you're talking some of these festivals, it's harder to get in than getting into like Harvard Law, the chances.
Yeah, yeah. We should all quit film and go to Harvard Law.
Yes,
We should all
that's
be
what I've been
Elwoods.
saying. That's the mistakes I made. And now look at me, broke as hell.
With a successful film.
Was a successful film though, yeah. Yeah,
That's how
that's
that
the crazy
works.
part is I think now going into like another film, if God willing, I get to make another film, I have to work backwards and really think about where is this gonna end up? What's the end game for this? Even before we start shooting. And I think, a lot of indie film, you're really run and gun and you're just like happy you made it to
Yeah,
whatever
yeah.
phase you're in.
Yeah.
Like, we did it, we cast it, we did it, we finished filming, we did it, we edited it, we did it, we got into a festival, and you're kind of going through these phases. I think
There's
someone said it's
multiple
like
times it falls apart too. Like
oh my
it's
God.
fallen apart in every phase. So
That's real.
you should be proud.
Yeah, I'm proud. Like I'm so proud like every time we get to like a milestone and then it's like you think you're like finally like we did it. And everyone's like, so you're done. I'm like, no, 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 no. Now we have another like it's like you're trying to get to this final boss and you're never gonna get to them.
Mm-hmm.
You're just like fighting your way up. And you're like, as soon as you're like, oh, well, we did the festival run, they're like, yeah, well, now what about distribution? What about your music rights? What about your marketing and your PR and your social? And you're like, I'm just a girl.
Gwen Stefani, if you can hear us.
Yes. Please donate money to this film if you can hear us. But yeah, it's kind of like where we're at now, the festivals too. I mean, it's this crazy time because some of these festivals are 10 days long, or
Yeah.
Yeah.
3 weeks. or it's 2 days or whatever it is, but you're usually flying out, taking time off work. Us indie filmmakers, we have, side jobs and hustles and stuff we're doing to make ends meet. We probably spent everything on this film and being here. And then on top of it, okay, so we traveled, we're at this festival. Now we got to figure out a way to sell at our theater. So we're going to local communities, we're going to events, we're getting marketing materials, we're running social campaigns.
Dressing like a vulva.
Yeah, you're dressing
Honestly.
like a vulva. Yeah, in your spare time. And, I don't know if you saw a lot of what Lady Parts has done at festivals, but we have Lady Parts friendship bracelets, and they all have different terms.
I have mine.
Yes, they all have different terms for vagina or vulva, because that's why the film is named Lady Parts. It's, we can just use actual terms like vagina or vulva. We don't have to use terms like Lady Parts, but we kind of wanted to play on that. So the friendship bracelets were, they got as crazy as like penis flytrap. Some were like hoo-ha and vajayjay. So they were like all over the place, and we would hand them out at the festivals.
I love that.
The first festival, I made 100 bracelets thinking, oh, this has got to be enough. No, I ran out within like 2 days.
Yes.
People
Awesome.
loved them. And then on top of it, I made these little
Taylor
goodie
Swift.
bags. Yeah. Thank you. Shout out Eras Tour. I did attend the Eras Tour right during this time, if you can't tell.
Yes.
Full of vagina bracelets. I love that.
Yeah, literally, I had so many. And they would come in these little packs, and I'd put a sticker, and then you'd also get a condom. And we put stickers on the condoms, so they were branded, and it would say slip into a screening of Lady Parts with a QR code to tickets.
Yes.
So good. It was
So
so good.
I am literally my apartment, and at this time I'm living in a 250 square foot apartment in New York, and I would be shipped 1,000 condoms, bracelet material. My apartment looks so crazy, because then I'm like slapping stickers on like 1,000 condoms in my free time.
I also just like want to know what USPS, like your mail person, was like thinking. I really wish we could have
like
theirs.
this girl is insane. And the ironic part is I can't even use the condoms I buy.
He's probably like, she has insane parties.
Yeah, they're like, maybe it's the vulva costume I'm picking up on the energy here. And I was like,
oh my God.
The friendship bracelets, I think we made so many by the end. That midway through, I actually pinched a nerve under my left shoulder, and I was in pelvic floor PT still, and she's like, I think we have to switch and go to your shoulder now, because that's the problem. And no one talks about it. Like, you'd put in all this work, like I'm spending all my money there, pass out these bracelets, go to every single mixer and make sure I'm talking to people and handing out our materials and getting there early to put them out. We also did menstruation stations in the bathrooms. So like,
yes, I saw that. Yep. Brilliant.
Yeah. So it would be like free period products such as, panty liners, tampons, you name it. And then there was a sign that would be like, presented by Lady Parts, come see us, with a QR code. And, every day at the festival, someone's got to set that up and restock it. Someone's got to be in charge of it, and someone's got to, keep up with the social media. Also, someone's got to be the PR person reaching out to local press, doing press releases, and you're looking at that person.
Yeah.
Working full time, being at this festival, and then on top of it, we have our screening, and we're doing our Q&A, and we're trying to keep up with just life and looking at
maintaining a social battery while you're there.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah, that's what killed us. We're like day one of Series Fest. We're like, how are we gonna do this?
Yeah, I'm like, I think like every day. And it's so funny because everyone thinks I'm so extroverted because I wear a vulva costume around, which like makes sense. I get that.
Yeah.
But
is it your little like, that's how you hide,
funny,
is your vulva costume?
Yeah.
You don't have to talk about you if you can talk about the vulva costume.
Exactly. And ironically, I always end up talking about me because they're like, what's this for?
Well, funny you should ask.
So I'm an introvert at heart, so I feel like I would go back to wherever I was staying, and it would just be like an hour just like sitting there being like staring at the ceiling like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Like, you gotta do this again tomorrow. It's brutal.
Yeah, I don't know how you did so many, because truly it was, I think, the second day of Series Fest that Michaela and I found a 30-minute window, and we went back to the Airbnb, sat in the dark on the couch in silence, just like both of us on our phones for a second, just to like have like a sensory deprivation chamber, and then we went back. And after that, I think
we're back at
it. But like so many, you went into so many, one right after the other.
Yeah, and we had like some that were like a couple days apart. So I mean, I would have this suitcase with me, and I'm like living out of this giant suitcase, and there's like 500 condoms in there, friendship bracelets, menstruation stuff, a vulva costume. Like,
I would love to know TSA too.
can imagine
like,
TSA, like, opening it, like,
yeah,
Your next film is just like your journey going to the festival.
you on the circuit.
me on the circuit. Lady Parts takes the circuit. And I'm like, Southwest, if you're hearing this and you want to sponsor us as well, we'd love to chat.
Because look, it's South.
It's South. Yeah, I flew on them majority of the time. But yeah, and then, you're talking like all of our, all the pink outfits and stuff we'd wear every day. And so it became this really intense planning process where I was living out of a suitcase for almost an entire year. And it basically felt like my New York apartment was like a hotel room at that point that just housed all my weird crafts and things I need. And then it'd be like, all right,
storage
on to
unit.
the next. So yeah, like you said, it's wild. Like you have these moments where you're like, I just need to sit in the dark for like 20 minutes and talk to no one. And the added layer with this is, it's not only talking about my project, it's talking about like my personal life constantly.
Yeah.
There were 2 times on set I took a therapy session and I had to escape set because I didn't want anyone to find me during it.
Yeah.
Something from me. I was like, you know what? Everyone needs something out of me. I need 30 minutes to just vent.
Yes. Yeah.
I think I'm the executive producer. So, I'm the final boss in this situation. I'm like, you have a problem. It escalates to me and I have to be the adult and fix it. There's no one I can go up a ladder to. And, that's becomes a huge, heavy burden after a while, especially dealing with like, I'm watching traumatic like events from my life play out by actors in front of me and constantly like explaining stuff to everyone on set too, because I'm not expecting everybody to know what a vestibulectomy is day one. That would be crazy. But maybe one day, maybe if this movie makes its rounds. But it's just wild. You need time to kind of decompress and take time. I'm surprised my therapist didn't think I was more wild, because there was like one time we were filming in a plumbing supply office because my dad sells plumbing, and that's where all the office scenes are. So like you just don't see like the other side of the screen, which is like walls of toilets and stuff. And so like I snuck off to like this conference room that was dark to like take my therapy session. I'm like on my phone in this like dark corner of this conference room crouching. And she's like, where are you? I'm like, I'm in a dark conference room so no one can find me. And she's like, okay. And I'm like, the other time we shot in a BDSM dungeon, and that's where like our medical scenes take place because they had a medical playroom that we could use to film. And so like I'm like, like, where are you? Like the next time I call her,
That's honestly might be a peak indie filmmaking tip right there. And also therapy. So go back to therapy.
Yeah, go to your local dungeon and take therapy there. And so I remember being there, like I think I like stepped outside, I was in like the car, and she's like, where are you? I'm like, I'm in a U-Haul outside the BDSM dungeon. And she's like, what? And just keeps getting like escalating, and she's like, okay.
She's playing
looking forward to your call. She's like, wait, I gotta take this one. Sorry.
She's also like probably in a group that's like, never have I ever taught a client from a BDSM dungeon. Never have I ever.
They're probably in a group chat and being like, guys, you won't believe what this client told me today. You'll never believe.
Like, is this a kink thing?
Yeah, I'm like, no, I swear. The ironic part is my vagina doesn't work. So, but all that to say, I feel like my advice for festivals is if you need a break, that's when you go to the bathroom and you just sit in the bathroom for a while, or like during your film. I used to do that a lot because I'm like, I've seen Lady Parts a million times now. I don't need to be. It is nice to be in the theater and hear reactions and stuff, but there's like parts where I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go to the bathroom. Because like you don't eat too. Like that's the hard part. You'll go like so much time. So pack snacks in a water bottle and like some liquid IV. And I'd go to the bathroom and I'm like, okay, I'm going to eat my little like protein bar.
Yeah.
And I'm going to, suck down like a liquid IV.
Wow. Yeah.
Fix my makeup or whatever for like, and I know I get the timing perfect because we've done it so many times. So I was like, okay, if I go at this point, I'll have enough time to do what I want to do and like feel decompressed to come on and then do the Q&A or like come up. But again, no one talks about that. They're like, you're on for like 24 hours a day. It's God forbid someone walks in the bathroom and starts talking to you too. They're like,
yep.
And you're
your
like,
stall is like Mean Girls. It's like when Lindsay Lohan sits in there with her lunch. Like you can just like, it's your time to like.
Yeah. I'm like with the tray just sitting there eating the sad sandwich.
Yeah. Except you're happy because you really just want to take a break.
I know, I'm like, "This is amazing." I know my favorite time would be, like, when we were traveling between festivals, the plane rides, because I was like, "Oh, look, no one can find me. I'm
You're
just
like, I'm
gonna
gonna go
read
into
my
the
little."
Sky Lounge, or I'm gonna go sit and get my, yeah, no one can find me.
Yeah, I was like, I didn't have the budget for Sky Lounge, but I was like, "I'm in economy, and I'm reading my nice Kindle, and I have
Mm.
some I would, like, download, like, 2 hours of just classical music to listen to while reading my
Ooh,
plane." I
I love
know.
that.
life
Yeah.
hack,
Hack. I was like,
like spa plane.
I know everyone's like, "Oh, the flying must be terrible." I'm like, "No, this is the only peace I get."
Yes.
I love that you touched on something that I don't know that anyone has really talked about before. At least I haven't heard this in a podcast before. And I feel like I'm a junkie, is how hard it is to be a producer and be final boss producer and have no one else to go to solve, and that you chose to have a therapist through that. And that was
So smart.
so smart. And on top of that, like, not only are you producer, final boss, you're watching your trauma play out in front of you,
Mm-hmm.
which I thought was also a
You
brilliant
can,
idea in my film,
yeah, you can both
Yeah, I was
relate
like,
to
"Wait, you
this.
did the same thing,
in
didn't
my
you?"
feature.
It's like the Spider-Man meme. We're just, like, pointing at each other like, "Wait a minute."
Well, and I like actually wonder, I like now kind of wish I would have had a therapist to talk to during that, because that probably would have been
Yeah.
really smart of me. How do you like, what was, can you put a phrase on like how you felt going into those therapy sessions versus coming out, or like just kind of what that did to help you keep going through? And 22 days is a lot of filming. I was going to ask you how long you shot, but
It
22
is.
days is a long time.
Yeah.
So
And you're talking 22 days of filming within a 30-day period. So imagine 6 days on, 1 day off. And my 1
Okay.
day off is usually like a Tuesday or something where I'm still doing my full-time job and then prepping and making props and do like, it's not an actual day off for me.
yeah, yeah. We're not filming.
Yeah, we're just not on set today.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're still
And
emailing.
yeah, oh, emailing every day. And I think like the decision to have the therapist wasn't even a conscious one. It wasn't like, oh, this is something like I want to make sure I'm doing, but I'm so happy I did it because I didn't really realize until I was there, you know, I didn't have anyone I could confide in that kind
Mm,
of way because I don't want to, people are coming to me with problems and stuff and that's, set. And I didn't really have that person like offset that I can be like, not connected to it at all, but just would kind of listen to me vent and help me work through some stuff. I do have like anxiety, depression, the fun stuff, but, I never wanted that to be the burden of someone else on set. Like,
Mhm.
no one's there to be my personal therapist. And I feel like when you're the producer on set, you're everybody's therapist.
yeah,
Everyone's coming
yeah,
to you with their
yeah.
problems. And
Yup.
Yeah.
Yep.
and producers don't get enough credit. Like, seriously, nothing would get done without these producers who get shit done. Like, that is your job. And you could have the most amazing people on set, but if the producer can't wrangle and get things, then like nothing's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And so thank you,
Yeah.
producers. We love you. Please go to therapy. We love you. But I think what was really nice is going to those sessions, I would feel this like overwhelmment, because it's so much going on. Your brain is kind of in this like fight or flight at that point because, there's like issue, problem. You're like ready to like jump
Mm.
when you solve every issue you
Mhm.
can. And just like, you're at that point, you're in survival mode. You're just staying afloat. You're like, I'm eating a pack of Cheez Its to sustain myself. Okay. So I would always say if I had a memoir, it would be called like Crying in the U-Haul because that was my me time and when I really got to kind of experience, feeling the feelings of everything going on. I think you're so much in that survival mode of just like, we got to get this done. There's this crazy problem and now the location fell through and I have borrow money and whatever. There's insanity. And
Yeah.
when you finally have that time to like be alone with the thoughts, I know the scary thing, and you're like, oh my
Yeah.
God, what am I doing? And I think a lot of times for me, I kind of thought, and I don't know if you've experienced something similar, you think, well, I've made this film and I wrote it and not that I'm fully healed, but you're like, I'm healed. And then healing isn't linear. And then something would happen that would remind you of something. You're like, I guess I really didn't process that part of this story, or I really didn't think about that. I was just so focused on getting it
Mm.
made, figuring out the casting and the location and this and this and this. And
Yeah.
then when you finally like take a moment to step back, you're like, wow, I really haven't felt an emotion about this or really processed that myself. And I feel like there was so many times like that where I wasn't expecting to like feel an emotional response to something that happened on set or something that would be
Yeah.
said. And not in a bad way at all. It was like beautiful. But I think going into those therapy sessions, I would feel super overwhelmed, and I'd have like 20, and sometimes it would just be like word vomit. Like I'd just be like, and here's what's going on, and this person's upset about this, and everyone's chaotic, and I'd go off, but then it kind of felt good to just kind of like get it off my chest and feel like, okay, there's somebody else listening and helping me just like kind of calm down, compartmentalize it, and be like, okay, now that that's all out, like, how do we get you to a place where you can continue doing this in like a safer, more healthy way? Because, if I burn out and pass out, what happens to the film? Who's going to do stuff?
Yeah.
Who's going to be pushing some stuff forward? And it's like, I think, even though it takes me away from set for 30, 40 minutes, I think in the long run, it's really important because it's what's keeping me going, It's like, the whole like glass, like you have to have your glass full before it can overflow to help others. And I'm very lucky too, though, family I stayed with in LA, the Van Kirks, shout out.
Woo.
They were, pretty much my mom and dad out there. I
Aw.
remember, she's seen me like cry, break down. We actually shot the exteriors all in their house. So thank you for letting us do that. And I remember like there was one day I was just running around, and she just like went into the little she shed and did my laundry. And I know, and I like came home and cried. I was like, this is so nice. I
Aw.
need to do laundry,
Ugh.
it's like dumb stuff like that you don't have time to do, you're not even thinking about, and then someone does it, and it's like, whether it's like a therapist or, a friend or a colleague, like whoever it is, like, I think next time, it's definitely going to be like, okay, how do we make sure that, there's a balance here? And no, well, burnout's inevitable and set. But yeah, mental health is huge. It's another thing I love talking about because I don't know. I don't think any of us are okay in these scenarios. Like,
Real.
indie filmmaking is a freaking hard. Don't do it unless you really want to do it. But you're gonna be tired and stressed. Yeah, everything's gonna go wrong. You're never like everything's gonna go crazy. And so I'm trying to think what else. Yeah. Anyway, crying in the U-Haul. Coming to libraries and bookstores near you.
And condoms through TSA.
Condoms through TSA, the sequel that we've all been waiting
Those
for.
are gonna be the two. I know you've just touched on so many things that I don't know that we've ever articulated. Like, it's like we all feel this in our vacuum. And I mean, I feel lucky that if something insane goes on set, I call Kat if she's not also on set. And I'm like, you're never gonna believe, like, and vice versa.
Yeah.
So we definitely have some running jokes in that. But when you're like the producer and you don't have that person to like call, and honestly I probably should call a therapist, really should.
Same.
Oh, call Pat, you're fine. I don't see a problem.
At Chilliwack Film Festival, I forget what the question was, and we all ended with like something about our therapist, and the moderator was like, I'm glad you all have therapists, you really need that in this industry. It's so true.
It's so
We're
true.
like, we are making, I don't even know what the analogy is at this point, like we're trying to make gold out of like dust. I don't know. Like it's so impossible. Like what you're trying to create, you pour your life savings, your, everything you had to do to make this happen, to come out with this thing, this tangible thing that is such a feat, and you're such a badass for how many hats you've like worn through all of this, and to come out on the other side with like wisdom and grace and things you want to share, and knowing that you are sharing something bigger than yourself. I think I can kind of say, at least.
Yeah.
Maybe that's like the mission we get attached to too, and the creative side. So you've gone through all of this, which is amazing. And I think if anyone was listening to this and was like maybe considering being a filmmaker, you've really made or broken.
Yeah, I was like, you're either crazy enough to do this or don't do it.
Yeah, or you were like, you know what? Thank you for showing me in an hour and saving me a year or 5 years of my life. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And a lot of money.
Or they're like,
they're like, this sounds like a fun challenge. Like, they're like me, like, this sounds like such a fun challenge.
They're like, I'm gonna do this.
Yeah. Why
so
not?
I want to, like, you originally talked about you could wait on financiers, you could pitch this forever, whatever. You decided you wanted to make this now because you didn't want to wait on people. And you're like, I need to get this out there. Was going through your head in terms of like, I know for me with Shredded, it was like, I could wait on people forever, but I'm probably going to lose control. of some things that are really important to me and why I want to make this film and things that I want to do for my career. Was there any of that for you? And what do you feel like has changed for you? It can be positive and negative, it can be both.
Okay. Yeah, I think I agree. And like you said with your film with Shredded, it's probably very similar where, if I went the traditional route with this, there's a huge chance that, you lose creative control. They change the story completely and they kind of miss the really important parts of it. And there's so much imperfection about this story that I love that would have gotten like, Hollywoodified. And I think it would have
Yeah.
taken away from the message and what we're really trying to show here and the raw, beautiful, cinematography and everything you see in it that's like just so genuine and relatable. And, obviously I would have loved if someone wanted to throw me some money. That would have been fantastic, but, I think it was one of the Duplass brothers has an amazing speech from like South by Southwest and it's, the cavalry isn't coming.
Mm, mhm, mhm.
And I loved that, and that's exactly how I felt. I said it kind of earlier where, you win this script writing award and you win for grand prize and you think, oh, finally it's going to happen for me. Well, it's not. You could win an Oscar and still not be working. You could win Austin Film Festival and still not have an agent like me. You could still not have distribution for your film. And, it doesn't mean that it's bad or your art's bad or anything's bad. It's just the nature of this industry. And
Mhm.
so, and I've met people that have done the traditional route. They find the financiers, they go through, a production company or a producer that's gonna, finance it. And I kind of sat there and I was like, well, let's really pull the resources we have. And, like as I mentioned, myself and Megan, who ended up being Nancy's childhood friend, who ended up helping come produce for us, we both worked for Light Iron, and that was a company under Panavision, so we were able to get an employee. We were able to get an employee Panavision camera package for free.
Wow. Wow.
Amazing.
And because that
Amazing.
worked for Light Iron, that meant, our dailies, our post production, our coloring, like all that stuff. And yeah, did it suck working full time while doing this? Absolutely. But did I make crappy money? Absolutely. Am I living off ramen and stuff? Sure. But we saved so much money by just really looking around and getting creative about what resources we were using. We only paid for one
Mhm.
location. Like I said, we
Wow.
were shooting in a dungeon. We were shooting a plumbing supply office. And like, how can we get creative with the resources and the stuff that we have?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to drive the truck every day. But, it's, there's ways to do it. And, I really wish that there was more funding for indie film like this. I feel like
Mhm.
there
Yeah.
are this big box office hit or nothing, and there's not really
Yep.
this in between anymore. And they're
Yep.
not really funding films like this, which really, really sucks.
Yeah.
Because these are some of like the most powerful, amazing, cool stories, and I really think people are wanting this. They really want stuff like
Yeah,
this,
they're
and there's
tired of
just
Yeah.
just a million IP action-driven franchise films. We're tired.
Yeah.
We're tired
we're
of it.
tired. Yeah, like give me something
Yeah.
relatable, give me something real. Comedies, dramas, any of that, and give us something new and like
Yeah.
something you've never
Unique.
seen before.
Yeah.
Break the
And
formula.
yeah, and just because that's the way we've done something doesn't mean we have to keep doing it. We see that time and time again throughout history. So I think the decision really was, if there's a will, there's a way. And it's kind of, I use the analogy where people use like, where I've heard this before, where they're like, you'll never be ready to have a baby, or something like that. Like you're waiting for the perfect moment.
Yeah.
But I think it's that way. Like you'll never have enough money to make the film. You're gonna run into problems. Things are gonna come up. And I think if I were to do it different, I might have really, I know some more financial things I might have done from the get go.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't change it for the world. I loved having control, and I loved the way we were able to do it and break so many boundaries and barriers. And specifically, I remember at Austin Film Festival, I was on a panel of like micro budget financing and
Mhm.
indie films
Mhm.
and how to do it. And I found it very interesting because someone asked, they're like, what is your budget? And no
Yeah.
one else wanted to answer, but I was like, I will tell you exactly what our budget is. Here's how we did it, because that's the whole point of this. Like what is it? The tide rises together, and it's like,
Yeah.
I'm not here to gatekeep how to do this, like, or, and not to say my way of doing it is right. Everyone's got their own creative things, but if you don't know that this is a possibility, and if you just want to roll up your sleeves and put some elbow grease into it, like you can do it. Like think about how many amazing films are going to come out of that, and how many stories are going to be told that wouldn't have been told. And I don't think filmmaking should be this elitist, only certain people
Yeah.
can do it.
Yep.
And, I already feel privileged enough that I was able to do it, and have the means and the money and the support. And so I just want to make sure stories are being told, no matter who you are or where you're coming from. But I'm really hoping it's changing. I feel like there's a really big shift right
Yeah.
now happening. And so I'm hoping this is like a nice little indie renaissance, and there's a bunch of other films that we were on the circuit with that are doing road shows and they're on distribution and these really cool
Yeah.
things. So it's really,
Love that.
really awesome to see.
It's a good time. So speaking of roadshow, do you have any dates yet? Or if not, that's okay. Like, where can people follow you? How can they help you? Give
Oh my
us all the deets. When are you coming to
Yes.
Las
Yeah.
Vegas?
Oh my god. Well, I would love your help with that, actually. We don't
The
have
idea of a theater. We'll talk. Okay, we'll
we'll
talk about
talk. But
this.
yeah, I was like, we'll talk.
Yeah.
My cousin lives in Las Vegas too. So like let's all anyway, I was like, we can do a whole thing. And so basically with the Lady Parts Roadshow, we are kicking things off March 1st, right here in Philly at the Falzer Club. And we're really making this an event. So like when you're coming to a Lady Parts screening, it's not just a screening, it's an event. We're having sexual health Q&A panel. We're partnering with local communities, women artists, women non-binary artists. We're partnering with anyone in the
Love
community,
this.
and how can we make this an education and a movement? It's not even just a film.
Mhm.
Like you said, it's bigger than the film. And how do we get this? I also volunteer for a nonprofit called Tight-Lipped. They are a grassroots advocacy organization by and for people with chronic vulvovaginal and pelvic pain. I also run their social media freelance.
Nice.
So make sure to go follow Tight-Lipped as well. They're doing amazing work. And so we're partnering with them and giving proceeds to them in any city that has a Tight-Lipped chapter as well, and partnering and seeing how we can kind of get education about this, get a movement going. They're already doing amazing work, and how do we just escalate on that?
Yeah.
So, and obviously March 1st kicks off Women's History Month. And then we're also
Yeah.
screening at Bryn Mawr Film Institute, which is right
Mhm.
outside Philly, on March 28th. We're
Amazing.
doing ice cream social at Jenny's Ice Cream in Bryn Mawr.
Love
Been
Jenny's.
before. I do too. So if you're in the Bryn Mawr area from 3 to 6 p.m., come join us and get some ice cream. Proceeds will go to the Roadshow. We are then doing Boston on April 9th at Somerville Theater.
Yeah.
Sick.
And then we have an entire DMV area weekend that we're planning. So far on May 14th, we'll be at the Miracle Theater in DC at 6. And guess what? Across the street is a Jenny's Ice Cream from 3 to 6. Get some ice cream before and support some lady parts. Come chat. And then on the Sunday, it's super exciting this week. We locked down that we're going to be at the Patagonia Theater in Alexandria, Virginia on Sunday. And we
Nice.
have a meeting working with, all these providers, all these people in DC kind of
Mhm.
coming together in the whole DMV area. And we're talking about maybe going to Capitol Hill. We're talking about, how do we get to local providers and do a patient panel with the Tight-Lip chapter? How do we kind of make this bigger than just the film? Like use the
Mhm.
film as a tool to get people to care and get people talking. And the only other screening we have like fully solidified, we're playing in Denver, Colorado,
Nice.
on 13th. I know, come by.
Yeah.
And now, I'm talking to a theater in Chicago. We've got an interest in Atlanta, New Orleans, a lot of places in the Northeast.
Mhm.
Obviously I'd love to come to New York again. We've been talking with some providers up there about partnering for that. So there's been a lot of outreach, and it's been a crazy amount of planning. So it feels like I'm planning 10 weddings at the same time, because guess who's the theater booker? Me.
Yeah,
And guess who's
yeah,
our PR
yeah.
agent and our marketer, and making all these social media campaigns you see and all these videos and everything. And so I think what is super helpful is like, one, give us a follow. We're at ladyparts_film. We'd appreciate it. Also, if you want to go to the link in our bio, we have what's called a screening interest form. If you fill it out, you just put your name, email, location, and that way we can let you know when there's a screening near you. Or if we have a lot of interest, it helps us gauge where we might want to be able to screen. I know. And then, subtle plugs, we always need money. Again, this is completely self-financed, but now we have fiscal sponsorship for just the Lady Parts Roadshow through Fractured Atlas, which is really exciting. So it means your donations are tax
Awesome.
deductible. So again, if you want to go to the link in our bio, we also have a link so you can donate to us, and it's end of year. So, tax deductible. Why would you not want to?
Woo. Right off those stocks, wealthy
Write
people.
them off. So, the
All
best
these
way
will be linked in the caption also. For
Wonderful.
anyone watching on YouTube,
Yeah,
this will be in
yeah,
the caption
we'll link them
for
all
you.
out.
Thank you. Yeah, so basically the best way to support us is, like, I guess the best way to support us is follow, like, comment, share our content with people. If you have the means, please donate, even if it's just $5 or $10. Everything really truly helps. That way we're able to kind of bring in these sexual health speakers, travel to events, get educational material out there, and really make these something that is like grassroots impactful to the community. And if, you're interested in hosting a screening, reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you and hear how we
Mhm.
can come to your city. If you have a connection to a theater or a connection to a space where you want to do it, let us know. We're happy to organize it and come to you. And
Amazing.
yeah. And, we're really active on social media. So, we're doing a series right now on Tuesdays where we're doing Lady Parts Education, where I'll get on and sometimes maybe I'll bring a provider on and we'll just kind of talk for a minute about, some stigmatized topics. The first one was, just kind of explaining that the vagina and the vulva are two separate things, which a lot of people don't know. And, if you have a question that you want answered or you're like, I'd love a video on this, please leave it in the comments. Send us a message. We'd love to be able to answer it for you. And every Friday, we also post Roadshow updates. So if you want to hear about other cities or other things we're partnering with or events kind of going on surrounding it, make sure to check in every Friday on our Instagram.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You've turned yourself into such a, like, wonderful resource because of this
Yeah.
film.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Talk about
Thank you.
something being bigger than yourself it's truly incredible. The work and the
you.
outreach and the partnering you're doing. It's so valuable. It's so incredible.
Thank you.
And
Yeah.
tenacious, because I know how many unanswered emails there are in the world that you're like, and to keep going even when that's happened and not throw in the towel,
Yeah.
and just be like, well, it's not working.
It's not working. Yeah. And I was like, there's so many venues, that don't reach back out or, people and people we were looking to partner with and stuff. But you never know, they could always be like, hey, actually, sorry, I was out for a few weeks traveling.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, you don't, you have nothing to lose by reaching out. Like the worst that can happen is you're in the same position you are now.
That's so
Yep.
true. Yeah.
Yep.
The worst you can get
And
is
you're
a no.
not.
No.
Yeah.
No. Now we have, 5 screenings booked and, more in conversation, which is so exciting.
So good.
And maybe we'll come to Las Vegas. That would be amazing.
Yeah. Woo.
Maybe right after
with that-
Colorado. Hop right over.
I think that should happen. All right. Follow all the follows. We're going to link everything in the bio. And this was such a pleasure to have you.
Okay, once again, that was Bonnie Gross. All of her socials and links are below. Make sure to check her out, give her a follow. And that's Michaela McIntosh, and I'm Kat Udane. And this was Gate Crashers.